Shavua Tov, a gute Woche, und a freilich Purim. Baruch Hashem, today is the wonderful Yontiv of Purim, a freilich Purim to everyone. We find in the mitzvahs that are connected with Purim, we find the mitzvah of Ad Leyade. Rebbe brings the Gemara in Sukkah that many of us heard about. Chayev Odam libsume bepuli ad lo yada ben odol homan leboruch mordechai. That you are obligated, Megillah of Zion, to libsume bepuli, to be intoxicated, libsume with wine, to the extent that you do not know the difference between Mordechai is blessed and Haman is cursed. That is the halacha. The Rebbe talks extensively about this halacha. It's in the Sikha of Pashas Vayikelo in Chelik Zayin. The Rebbe explains, though, that there's a question here. Ad leyada, it's part of the halacha, that you are supposed to drink wine and Purim until you do not know. Leyada is something that you do not find in any other yontiv. As a matter of fact, every yontiv is something that you should understand. Like, for instance, by Sukkot it says, L'man yedu de'ereisechem, that you should know. And by Pesach's coming up, you should know what Pesach is all about. Here is one mitzvah that you do not find any other place, and the mitzvah is ad lo yada, until you will not know. So not knowing, which is generally not a compliment, now becomes the essence of the day. How do you reconcile that? We will return to that in a moment. But first, our customary story. The customary story has to do with Purim and how the Rebbe was arrested on Purim. The story was told by Agon Rabbi Yosef Deva Levi Soloveitchik from Boston, and he told it in many details, that he knew the story, how the Rebbe was arrested on Purim. It was the second night of Purim, not the night of the Megillah, the night of the Suda Purim, of the Sudas Purim. It was about 12 o'clock at night. And he was ready, he says, to be Mekayim Abelisker Ad Leyade. Talking before about Ad Leyade. Ad Leyade means that one should drink wine until he doesn't know the difference between Boruch Mordechai and Odol Haman. How are you Mekayim Abelisker Ad Leyade? The Belisker Ad Leyade was if you go to sleep. Because when you go to sleep, you do not know the difference between Boruch Mordechai and Odol Haman. It was about 12 o'clock at night, and the telephone rings. On the other side of the line was the police chief. Rav Soloveitchik said that he understood from the police chief, or you wanted to understand, that the Rebbe was in the station. Because the Rebbe was saying a good witness for somebody. But the police chief says, no. You know Schneerson, we have him in custody. And Rav Soloveitchik said, I'm coming right over. He came over, the Rebbe was there, and the Rebbe told him what happened. It was after Sudas Purim. Uchtev Lev HaMelech Bayoyin. The Rebbe went out on the streets, and the Rebbe gathered a group of people, and he spoke to them in German, and he told them they have to learn from Mordechai Yehudi, leyichrav leyishtachav, and not to be afraid of what anyone says, and do what Almighty God says. And then a policeman came over to him, and he asked him, Haben Sie ein Erlaubnis? Do you have a permit for the gathering? And when the Rebbe did not produce a permit, he arrested him. Rav Soloveitchik told the police chief that he knows this individual very well. He's a very fine and upstanding individual, a holy person. And the police chief took Rav Soloveitchik's words, and he released the Rebbe. As HaKodesh HaTev, being thankful for the favor, instead of going home, the Rebbe went to Rav Soloveitchik's house. The first thing the Rebbe asked for when he went into Rabbi Soloveitchik's house was a telephone, and he called the Rebbetzin to tell the Rebbetzin that everything is okay, but he's going to be a little late. Und später, in the words of Rav Soloveitchik, haben wir geredet in Lernen a ganze Nacht. They were talking and learning an entire night. And I told them, Rav Soloveitchik said, Ist weiß ich, als ihr sein a Rebbe. Now I know that you're going to be a Rebbe. Ihr seid schon gesessen in Tfise Eich. You even sat in jail also. This is the story, how it was related by Hagoen Rav Yosef Dave Halevi Soloveitchik from Boston. Now there is a second part to the story. The second part of the story was told by a Jew whose name is Rabbi Pinter. I remember him. He used to live on Eastern Parkway, 723 Eastern Parkway, diagonally across from 770. And he would daven in 770 once a week, Mitzvah Shabbos Kiddush, because the minyan in 770 was earlier than in the other shuls. He had 3 sons, and he sent them all to the Lubavitch Yeshiva in Bet Din. He had a son of Ron Pinter that was about 2 years older than me. He had a son Leibish Pinter in my class, and he had a son Shmelke Pinter, who was about 2 years younger. And he would tell this story, that he was a witness to what happened. This was in Berlin. The year was he doesn't remember whether it was 1930 or 1931. He was 16 or 17 years old. And he was on the street when they arrested the Rebbe. Still have a cold. Hopefully the Adleyada of Purim will help it. He was on the street when they arrested the Rebbe. What did he see? He saw the Rebbe speaking to a group, and then he saw a policeman coming over to the Rebbe and talking to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe went like this. By Chassidim you call it Tatnuas Beetle, like nothing. And then he saw the policeman arresting the Rebbe. So he was an eyewitness. He saw how the Rebbe was arrested. Then he says the year was 1954. Tovshin Yudalit. They did not at that time yet live in Crown Heights. They still lived in Williamsburg. They later moved to Crown Heights. But to that Fabringen, he came to the Fabringen, to the Rebbe's Fabringen. At the end of the Fabringen, some people had a chance to go over to the Rebbe. He walked over to the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe only these words, that I remember Purim in Berlin. That's all he said. Ich gedenk Purim in Berlin. I remember Purim in Berlin. So the Rebbe gave him a big smile, and the Rebbe said to him, Soll das bleiben zwischen uns, let it remain between us. Me wird noch machen a nayim yontev in Lubavitch. They will make a new yontev in Lubavitch. This is the story. In retrospect, if the year was 1930 or 1931, it was just before the Nazis took over. In 1933, they already took over the government of Germany. So in 1930 or 31, the police chief could have been a Nazi, could have been a member of the Nazi party. And he could have held the Rebbe overnight and so on. Miraculously, he let the Rebbe out. So it is a great miracle, and it is a great simcha for Chassidei Chabad, that the Rebbe was released on Purim. Rabbi say, concerning the question, or the observation of the Rebbe, that here, concerning Purim, we have a mitzvah that we don't find any other place. And the mitzvah is Adleyada, we should not know. And the question becomes even stronger for Chassidic Chabad, where everything is Chabad, Chochma, Bina, Vadah, that we should understand. We shouldn't just accept something, we should understand it with Chochma, with Bina, with Vadah, and Das. And here, the mitzvah is Adleyada, that we should not understand. Moreover, the Rebbe says that this is the only chiyuv of Adleyada, that the lebesume should be to the extent of Adleyada. And not only that, that in case he did lebesume, but he didn't reach the darge, he didn't reach the plateau of Adleyada, of not knowing, then he was not mekayim the mitzvah. So this is why this shows that this is the teichen apnimi of Purim. that if we do not reach that dalge of ad leyada, you weren't mekayim the mitzvah. I must tell you, the Biel had gekocht in that sicha. The Biel loved the sicha. And you explained it the way the Biel could. Not only that, the Rebbe says, ad leyada means that this should be part of Yemei Mishte v'Simcha. And this is a condition in the Simcha. And Mishte and Simcha, the Rebbe says, is different than all the other chiyuvim of Purim. Why? Because the other chiyuvim of Purim are in a way that you can do them and then you fulfill them. The mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. It doesn't say that for all the hours of Purim you should read the Megillah. You read the Megillah once. Once you finish reading the Megillah, but at night and then in the morning, you have fulfilled the mitzvah. Mishleach Monis. Once you send Mishleach Monis, the halacha way, then you have fulfilled the mitzvah. Matonis Levyenim, you have fulfilled the mitzvah. Here, the mitzvah is not in a certain amount of time. It's the entire Mei Mishte v'Simcha, which means the entire time of Purim. Although the Amos says that the Suda is in the afternoon, nevertheless, the Yemei Mishte v'Simcha is the whole time. And then the Rebbe asks the question, how is it that a tailor says to a Jew that you have to be mevusim? Mevusim means you have to be intoxicated. But not only do you have to be intoxicated, you have to be intoxicated to the extent that you do not know the difference between Baruch, Mordechai, and Odel Haman. And then the Rebbe brings that some of us say that, what does it mean? That since every expression has a numerical value, so you shouldn't know the difference between the numerical value of Baruch, Mordechai, and Odel Haman. So first of all, the Rebbe says, when one is intoxicated, not only doesn't know the difference between the numerical value of Baruch, Mordechai, and Odel Haman, he doesn't know smaller things either. And here there's a mitzvah of ad leyada. Not only that, when a Jew sees, you tell him there's a difference between Baruch, Mordechai, and Odel Haman. If it's a Jew that understands something, then he knows that there's no end, Odel Haman. The Rebbe is not looking for negativity, that Haman should be cursed. So when you say Odel Haman, what he understands is that the Tachlis HaKavona is Baruch Mordechai, because it's a Yerid, it's a Aliyah. And let's see it in the words of the Rebbe. The Chayes von jeder Sache is the Kavona Elieno. The vitality of everything is the Kavona. So then, therefore, he knows that the reason why there is a Odel Haman is as von dem soll kommen zum dem Venafechu, als Iden durch sehr Avede soll das Mehaper sein zu Baruch Mordechai. The reason there is an Odel Haman is in order so we should transform the Odel Haman in Baruch Mordechai. So therefore he knows that what is the real Kavona? The Kavona is not Odel Haman. The Kavona is Baruch Mordechai. So the moment you tell him Odel Haman, he understands that the Kavona is Baruch Mordechai. That is the Tachlis. The Tachlis von Odel Haman is Baruch Mordechai. And this is the Pirush Apnimi. Ad leyada ben Odel Haman le Baruch Mordechai. Mehaper sein von Odel Haman zu Baruch Mordechai bis ad leyada. That he should transform from Odel Haman to should make Baruch Mordechai to the extent that he doesn't even know the difference. Moreover, the Rebbe says in the Rebbe's words, as a zet dem Odel Haman, the zet gleich dem Baruch Mordechai. And the Kavana is the Baruch Mordechai. When he sees the Odel Haman, he sees immediately not the Odel Haman because the Rebbe doesn't want anything negative. So it's only a Yerida, but the Yerida is Tzedek Aliyah to bring out the ascent, the Baruch Mordechai. Nevertheless, but there is still a difference. Why? Because it says Ad leyade beinodom, which means there is a difference. So this we have to understand. And the Rebbe gives the explanation, Rebbe say, vintage Rebbe. The Gemara says, Gedelo tshuva shes denis nasa lekes ochies. Brings the Gemara in Yuma, that people want to base. The tshuva is great, that the denis, the deliberate sins, become like gezochies, like mitzvahs, like advantages. And not only that, it says, B'mokim shebali tshuva emdim, tzadikim gmunim ein mechilim lamet shom, where bali tshuva are, the plateau, the darga of bali tshuva is so high that tzadikim gmunim cannot be there. And why is that? One of the explanations is, tzadikim gmunim can be mevada, they can refine the world, but they cannot be mevada sholosh klippas atmeis. The real klippa, they cannot be mevada, they have no connection. The Baal Tshuva, unfortunately, had a connection to the Sholish Klippas Atmeis as well. And now, when he is becoming a Baal Tshuva, then he refines even the Sholish Klippas Atmeis. To the extent that this Danes of Sholish Klippas Atmeis now become Zochias, become positive things. Now, why is that? Why is it that the Baal Tshuva is, to an extent, gets higher than the tzaddik? Because the Baal Tshuva is betachlis abitl. Because he's broken, because of his past, and because he's broken, and his betachlis abitl is personally annulled, then he reaches a much deeper form in the nefesh, and he connects with Almighty God Himself, with Baal Horotzin. In other words, it's no longer him. He connects with the Baal Horotzin. So the Rebbe says that once you connect with the Baal Horotzin, that is a darga that is higher than the person, and therefore, and that is the darga of an Eini Yedea, and therefore he makes the real connection with Almighty God, with the Baal Horotzin. In simple English, the way we can understand is that the mitzvah is that everybody always thinks of himself, present company of course excluded, thinks of their ego and of their understanding and of their seichel, whether they have seichel or not, but they think of their seichel who knows what. Purim is where one should lose himself, lose his seichel. He doesn't have any. He's higher than his seichel. He loses himself and he loses his seichel, and he makes a connection with Baal Horotzin, and that is the darga of Ad Liyada, which is higher. And in that darga of Ad Liyada, then everything is equal. There, everything is the same. Why? Because he connects with Almighty God Himself, and this is the mitzvah of Ad Liyada. Now I can tell you. Remember the Biel talking about it. The Biel understood it. We repeat it. But at least we know the gist is that the mitzvah is to lose yourself, to lose your ego, to connect with Almighty God, to the Baal Horotzin, not to the Rotzin, not to the will, to the Baal Horotzin, to the master of the will, to Almighty God Himself. And then you reach that darga of higher, of Eini Yedea, which is the highest darga, and then you reach the darga ad leyada ben odel homan leborach Mordechai. This is what the Rebbe explained. I'm not going to tell you that we can explain it as good as the Biel. The Biel loved the Sikha, because this is especially for him. But this is what the Rebbe tells us, and this is where we can aim to reach to the Baal Horotzin, and then we reach the darga of ad leyada ben Homon and Baruch Mordechai. We live in a special generation, and we need to get to everyone. Tzadikim, Bali Tshuva, those who were on this side, those who were on the other side. We need to get everybody together so that we can gather all our forces and refine every part in the world, and refine ourselves and our part of the world, and prepare the world for the coming of Mashiach. We are the last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geulah, and the Rebbe promised us that this is the generation that will bring about the Yat Hashem, and we'll see with our very own eyes the Gula Amitis V'Yashlema. And one of the ways is Ad Leyade, to lose ourselves, to do what the Baal Horotzin, what the Rebbe want, not only what the Horotzin is, deeper than the Horotzin, the Baal Horotzin, the master of the Horotzin, Almighty God Himself. And that way we will prepare ourselves and our chelik in this world for the Gula Amitis V'Yashlema, and we will see the Gula Amitis V'Yashlema with our very own eyes. And as we say in our liturgy, in Havdalah, every mitzvah Shabbos, but then we add 3 words. Kein tihiyalonu. We should see it with our very own eyes. Gesundheit und Fröhlichkeit. The great, great Geula coming our way that we are going to see with our very, very, very own eyes. ובעגולו דידנו ושמחו ובטוב לבוב ובטוב הנילה והנגלו למטה מעשרות טפוחים ובחסד וברחמים ותקף ומיד ממש